started. Good evening, everyone. We're going through a short webinar with Rehab Guru, David Barrow, Director at Rehab Guru. He's going to be talking us through some of the additional features now available, talking about the templates and assessments and the new pre-populated forms. So if you have any questions, drop it into the chat. This will be recorded so you can review it later on as well. But yeah, David, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Thanks for inviting us on to introduce forms and notes and perhaps reintroduce some people to Rehab Guru, or if there are some newly qualified sports rehab instructors that are getting used to Rehab Guru. It's great to be back on, having done the introduction to Rehab Guru early in the year when it was made available to all of the BASRaT members. My name is David. I am a physiotherapist by trade, and my business partner is a sports rehab instructor. And so we created Rehab Guru, which in itself, in its main guise, is a exercise prescription platform that allows you to create, send, and then monitor the exercise programs through our client, so the patient app, as well as all of the mobile and web apps that we have for that, well, that really allow you to create, send, and monitor the programs. And the reason that we decided to create the forms and the notes is because lockdown happened. There are a lot of people that are struggling. I still work clinically part-time, so we could relate to what was happening within gyms, within clinics, and the electronic health records are just so vital to our operations, and they can just be so expensive. And so where people were looking to cut down, we wondered whether people wanted a form of an electronic health record within Rehab Guru, all on one platform for a more affordable price. And to give an example of what I mean, some people might have heard of Clinico, they might have heard of NewCal, and we integrate with them and they're great services. We integrate with some super athlete management systems, and they're also fantastic, but they also are very expensive because they often offer features which are above and beyond what your average clinic wants and needs, and they're there for that that use where maybe you're a company with 30 clinics around the country. If that's not you and you want a more affordable, more streamlined, effective, and much easier to use electronic health record, then that is what we've brought out for you. So we released this a few weeks ago and have been in talks with BASRaT, so really, really great to bring it to all BASRaT members. What I'm going to do is, if it's all right with you, and as I've said to Ryan before, if there's any questions, throw it out. I'm happy, Ryan, for you to interrupt me if there's anything that's really pertinent, and I'll just stop mid-flow and answer, or adjust the demo so that we can make it as clear as possible. So what we are going to do, if it's all right with you, is share the screen now. So hopefully you should be able to see my screen. Hopefully you should be able to see Rehab Guru. Are you able to see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So what we have here, for if anyone hasn't yet logged in, if they're newly qualified, then this is what you would get as your sign-in page or to register. And if anyone, we had a few questions this week about how do you register. I'm a BASRaT member that people were emailing us and using our instant messaging service on the website. So there are clearly a few newly qualified people, or people that perhaps weren't working 6 months ago and now they are, and they want to get an account. And the way that we do this is to click on register yourself. It's free to register. And once you've done that, then contacting BASRaT so that the BASRaT administrators and registrar can upload your account and move it from a free account to the subscription account, which allows all of the subscription features, some of which I'm going to show you. So the main guise of Rehab Guru, and just to orientate you to it, this main toolbar at the top here has got dashboard, which is where we are, and this is just for managerial oversight. And if anyone uses Guru regularly, and I'm sort of teaching how to suck eggs, hopefully you can bear with me for a moment. The creator relates to the second toolbar here, and this gives access to your creation, editing and sending of exercise programs with our library of over 5,000 exercises. The templates we have might be different from things that you've seen on other exercise prescription platforms, and we can obviously share programs that we've sent, and you can see some examples of ours here. You can create from scratch, or you can modify our existing templates. You can do exactly what you want to do, as well as creating your own exercise. And this is all available on our mobile apps for Android and iOS as well. And then obviously sending it. The clients page allows you to do a whole manner of things, from grouping patients together into clinic, into diagnosis, into condition, so that you can pull data out and do audit, or to separate and organize your client list a little bit easier, so it's a bit more manageable for you. This is obviously a demo account, as you can see from some of the names here. They're just examples. And what we can start talking about now is the forms and the notes. And so if I were to, for example, just orientate you to this, if we clicked on this particular client, we can see that if they had been sent any previous programs, they would be in prescriptions. Treatment notes would be here, and forms. If I go to the account page, it will make it really easy for me to explain what the difference is between forms and notes, because we make it very easy for you to use them. If anyone's used any forms before, be that on Microsoft Teams, or on other platforms, if they're sending out questionnaires to their colleagues, then you can create either questionnaires, or you can create a document with prompts that might be related to a subjective examination. You may create a document, you may create what is called here a form with those prompts, and then send that to patients, so that even before they've seen you in clinic, you have tons of information on them. And the main difference between a form and a note is that you send forms to the patient so that they can complete them either as pre-appointment questionnaires, or perhaps as a post-appointment satisfaction questionnaire. The forms also allow you to create these template notes. And so you can see here that you can either create one for yourself if you wanted to, or we have started you off with some sample forms. And these sample forms here range from, you know, the Billy basics of what is now a Billy basic of COVID-19 screening. We also have some more in-depth forms for inflammatory pathology. If you've got someone come in and they've got multiple joint problems and swellings, and that 24-hour pattern, and a family history, and everything else that might go with ankylosing spondylitis or rheumatoid or whatever, it's really useful to be able to send these. Similarly, red flags, we have pre-populated some of those for you, and these are great to send out to patients before, because as you know, some of the red flags for lumbar spine are some really private, personal questions about erectile function and bladder and bowel and stuff. And actually, if a patient can answer these in the comfort and privacy of their own phone without having to actually talk about it, you can get a much more accurate and honest appraisal of what is going on. So that's why we've created these. Now, this is my current account, which has got no forms in it. And it's really easy for me to move any of these sample forms in. All I have to do is just click on clone, and they will add it in here. Once they're in there, obviously I can edit them if I want to. That is one way of creating your own library rather than having to create something from scratch. You can simply take ours and modify them. Hopefully that makes sense. And so what I will do now is to show you how you can use these and send these to a patient. And so if we could imagine that we know the person, for example, has lower back pain, and we might want to send them some proms. You might know that you want to use, let's say, the Start Back or the Start MSK or something like that, and you can create outcome measures and send them to your patients. And so if I were to take these, for example, let's move to the client page now, and I'm going to go to this demo account for BASRaT. Within Forms, this is something that I'm going to do, and this is one I've created and I've sent earlier. It's really easy for me to create a form, and once I click on that, I'm going to receive a drop-down box here, and in that drop-down box are all of my forms, the ones that I cloned from the sample forms and any that I have created. And I'll show you how to create a form in a moment, and all of the flexibility and all of the features that come with that. But just to give you a little oversight of how you would start using this straight away, let's say we click on COVID-19 screening, for example. It's possible for me to scroll all the way to the bottom and save it. And once it's saved, I now have the option to send it to that patient. I can edit it again, or I can delete it. And to give you a real-time view of what these would look like once a patient has completed them, I've done some already in preparation for this. And so in this one, you can see that, for example, this person completed a form regarding inflammatory pathology. And so I can see that this person does suffer with prolonged morning stiffness. They do have pain in more than one joint, and they're able to tell me exactly which ones. And as we go along, then, you know, if you wish, you can separate it out into different screening, which may be useful for you. For the patient, you may wish to take those off. But it gives you really in-depth detail about whether this could be rheumatoid, whether it could be AS, whether it could be a reactive inflammatory joint problem. And this is information which could have taken you 5 or 10 minutes to get in your appointment, and it's just saved me a ton of time. And you can tell the patient has completed it because it's gone from being sent to being submitted. If a patient has completed a form and it is a pre-appointment questionnaire, for example, the patient has the choice of guiding you with either written word or using a diagram in order to illustrate where their symptoms are, and this can be really useful. And again, the patient's able to give you, you know, as much information as they want, or not, if they'd like to discuss it in person. And that again has saved me a huge amount of time. When it comes to notes, if we move to notes now, notes works in a very similar way. But the difference is that we don't send notes to the patients because they are our legal documentation of what we have done with our patients. So within treatment notes, you're going to get a very similar page, which at the moment for me is blank because I haven't done anything. This is just a demo account for this evening. And if I create a form, then I can choose any of these. And let's say, for example, a new assessment. We can add whatever information we want, you know, whatever the symptoms happen to be. With regards to body chart, we've tried to give you as many features as possible. And what I'm going to do now is just share the body chart. So the body chart opens up into a new window. So it'll be a separate window, which you can see here. And immediately you can see the sort of a full body unisex body chart. In the top right, you can adjust these as you want. So if you wanted them to be male or female, then you can do. If you wanted just the posterior view, then you can create just a posterior view, depending on how much detail you want to write on here, or how much scribbling you want to do. Scribbling as were the ways back in the day when I was learning to be a physio on paper. But if you look at the left toolbar here, you can see there's various options. It's possible for me as a therapist, and this would work in a similar way for the patients, to click the feature that you want, and we can move these, we can enlarge them. There can be several wherever we wish them to be. And if the patient wants to, or you, because this is a medical note, if you want to add any writing to this, then you just go to the text box, place the text box here. And if that's not the right size for you, then you can just change the font size. And as you then add whatever details you want, you can then use the arrows just as you would do if you were drawing them. Most people now are so good with tech that this shouldn't really take you any more time than it would if you were doing it on paper, and it looks much neater, and this is all saved within the electronic health record. There are obviously other features here, so if you wanted to just go old school and have a good scribble, then you can do. If you wanted to write something, then you could obviously do that, but the options after here is to save it. So as I save, this window will close and we'll go back to the Rehab Guru app, and so you'll lose me for just a moment, but I will reshare with the Google Chrome screen. So hopefully you can see the Rehab Guru app again. Can you see that, Ryan? Yeah, perfect. Okay. So as we then move through this medical note, you can see with these, we've not made any of these prompts mandatory. So you don't have to fill out every form, every section here in order to save it at the bottom. You'll notice that there are many different sections here, and the bottom gives you two options. Because it's a medical note, once you've saved it as final, it is uneditable. We know that clinics can be busy and you might only write part of a medical note after the appointment, and you haven't quite finished it. You've got to jump to your next patient. And so you finish those notes later on. And in that case, you would want to save it as a draft. And as I saved it as a draft, I'm back in the client page with treatment notes, and here it is. And if I want to, then of course I can edit it. However, once I have saved it as final, it is then uneditable. The case for legal reasons, which would be the same with any electronic health record. So hopefully that has given an insight into what is the difference between forms and what is the difference between notes, and how you might use it in clinic. What you might be wondering now is how you edit a form or how you create a form from scratch. And so if we were to move back to the account page and we move to forms, this is where you manage all your forms. And so if it were with COVID-19 screening, for example, there were some different questions that you might want to ask. You might want to ask, for example, now that we know there are new countries which have been put on the list as being countries that you need to isolate from, you may wish to add a section at the bottom that might be, for example, foreign travel. And you can just add whatever questions you want. So an example might be, you traveled to any country in the last month. Now, when you're doing this, and it will become clear when I show you how to create a template from scratch, you have various options available to you. When you are creating these questions, you can make this a required question, and the patient won't be able, or if this was a medical note, you wouldn't be able to save this until the patient has answered that question. However, if you don't want that to be the case, and you can make it unchecked, and the patient will be able to leave that blank and save it if you want. As you move along, there are options for you here. So at the moment, we have a text box which the patient can complete, but there are other options to you. So if you were to ask a more open question, and you might want a paragraph then, and that will allow the patient just to write lots and lots of writing, whatever is relevant for them. Other options, if you were to be doing a questionnaire, or if you were asking about pain intensity and you wanted maybe a Likert scale, 1 to 5 or a 1 to 10 for VAS, whatever it might be, then you've got multiple choice or single choice. And the difference obviously is that with single choice, they can only choose one, and that might be really relevant. For example, if you were asking about pain intensity, and you could put your various scores all the way down to 5 out of 5. Alternatively, what you could do is to choose some other options. If you want a file upload, this would be really relevant for medical notes, and I'll show you that in a moment, or body chart. And this is how you would select the various questions and answer formats, so the patient can give you the information that's relevant for them. And once you've done that, you click save, and you have just edited one of the forms. So if we were to do that for a medical note, for example, if we've already got SOAP notes here in the form of a review. So if we were to clone this, and it appears at the top, and we want to edit the review appointment, it might be that we're happy with a paragraph here, but actually for medication, we think we only need a text. We don't need a huge amount of space taken up. You may wish within your, as you can see on pain scores here, I've made this various choices. You may remember when I showed you previously, there was a question relating to bowel disorders, which would be relevant for someone that's got ankylosing spondylitis, for example. So you might say, have you experienced any of the following problems? Or this could be related to paresthesia, if someone had a radiculopathy. Now I could change this to multiple choice, and I could write tingling or numbness. I could have one for tripping or loss of coordination. And similarly, you could create other questions that might be related to their pain scores. They might be related to any other conditions. And the other thing that would be really useful is files. And so you might want information about investigations they've had, and that may be blood tests, that may be an X-ray, it may be an MRI report. And so if we change this to file, then this would allow us to upload files within the notes. And so if I move us to save, as I move into my client page, and let's use the Rehab Guru and BASRaT webinar demo. If I were to go to a treatment note and I ask for the app to provide me with that review appointment, as I'm going through the sections here, I'm able to click on the upload. And so that if the patient is able to email their X-ray report, their MRI scan report, their blood test report, then I can upload that to the medical notes, and that can be really useful to do. So hopefully I've shown you some ways in which you can edit a form, which would either allow you to lend itself into creating a questionnaire for a patient, or editing a form so that you can create a SOAP note or an assessment form that really fits around your practice. Within Account, there's one thing I haven't shown you, which is add template. So if someone wants to add a template, when people open this, if you've never done forms before, this can sometimes look a little bit daunting because it's just a blank page. How do I create one of those really detailed and comprehensive forms out of nothing? And so I'm just going to orientate you to how you would do that quickly, and then show you, and you'll very quickly pick up the pattern based on all of the other demos that I've shown you this evening. So this, if you click on it, cannot be edited. This is just the form template. However, the new form needs a title. And so if the title, if we were to say post-appointment questionnaire for BASRaT, you could call it whatever you wanted it to be. And you might make section 1, you might break this into sections. So the person's impressions as soon as they walked in the clinic, what were reception like? You may add a completely different section that might be about your therapy. When you're in clinic with your therapist, how did it feel? And you could call that whatever you wanted to. And if any of you have created any questionnaires online before and sent them out to friends, you'll recognize this pattern and this format. And you might then want to ask your patients questions about the facilities. And within each of these, you may ask simple questions of how tidy the clinic was. You may ask them how friendly were reception staff. These sort of things are important. You might ask things such as how easy was it to find the clinic? If on-site parking is or isn't available, if reception on someone's phone when they're navigating to your clinic drops in and out, how easy is it? Or if they're getting public transport. And you can move through this and create your own form. And obviously you can move through the therapist part and say, you know, how did you feel your assessment was? How did you feel that you benefited from treatment? And so on and so forth, through facilities, through aftercare. And this can give you really useful information. And the reason I love these for post-appointment questionnaires is because we all know that when we shove a piece of paper into a patient's hand and ask for them for feedback, there is just this bias that they want to please you, they want to feel better, and we don't always get the most honest responses. Whereas if someone doesn't know actually who's going to be reading this questionnaire, and they can do it without anyone being upset or offended, then sometimes you get some really useful feedback that you otherwise would never have heard. And that can be really a great opportunity for developing your clinic if you're looking to decorate, if you're looking for new equipment, these sort of things. You might even ask questions such as, what equipment would you like to see in our clinic? And so as you're looking at future purchases, this can sort of guide your patient satisfaction. And so this is how I'm creating this form. And as I'm doing it, as I mentioned before, we know that we can obviously add different sections, so we can make this a parameter. Or if you wanted to turn this into a Likert scale, Likert scales are so easy for patients to engage with because they don't have to type. they can just pick one. And so if we did single choice here, and I'm sure you know what I'm going to do. And you can add into here whatever you want. And that may make this questionnaire really easy. We all know, we've all been sent questionnaires before, and if it looks like it's going to take more than 30 seconds, most of the time we don't bother. And that's just human nature. So making these questionnaires as quick and easy as possible with either a body chart that they can quickly scribble on or just a tick into a box makes life so much easier. We can obviously, as I've shown you before, make these required or not required. You may wish, for example, to make all of these required. And if there was a second question, so something we're often asked, users email us or use our instant messaging service, and they might ask a question around, can you hide certain questions? And so what we might add here, and we're going to leave the required section blank. We're just going to ask, can you elaborate on any of the answers above? But I'm going to, rather than clicking required, I'm going to leave that because the patient might not have anything to say. They might not have the time to type anything. So let's not waste their time, and then save it so that when this form can be sent to a patient, they can fill it out and we get lots of great feedback. So we went to add template and we've created a template. It is now within our save forms, and here it is, post-appointment questionnaire for BASRaT. If I want to send this to patients, I go to my patient or client. The words are interchangeable, as you know. So if we were to go to this one, we go to forms and we're going to send a form, particularly the post-appointment questionnaire. We don't need to edit it at all. We're going to save it. It's currently not sent. So then we send it. And this questionnaire has just been sent to that patient. And as soon as they've completed it, it will be available for us to see. So that is how we can suggest you use forms and notes to improve your service, to be able to have an electronic health record for writing notes, and for being able to do that all on one platform with the BASRaT membership that you all have, meaning that you don't have to pay anything more for it. Are there any questions so far, Ryan? Any from you or any viewers?
One thing from me, can you download this as a PDF? So say you needed to send the forms off to, I don't know, a GP for an onward referral.
So what we have here it's slightly difficult at the moment. There we go. So you've just, I don't know if you saw what I did there, whether you need me to go through it again. We just click on this button here. This is the URL, so it won't take them anywhere else. It will just click on there and then open it. And so if you wanted to, this is the portal. And so if you wanted to, you can do that. If that makes sense.
That's great.
Any other questions?
If there are any questions, guys, just fire them away either in the chat or in the Q&A. Or seems to be. Can you just run through the PDF again, or how to create that URL?
Yeah, so we it's not possible currently to download as a PDF. There are lots of things that we're working on behind the scenes. So some of the things that we're working on is to bring out calendars and diaries so that we can bring a sort of an entire clinic software, allowing you to bring all of your operations under one platform, just making it much cheaper and so much easier. So the link that I showed you, the way of getting access to that before doesn't download it as a PDF, but as well as sending it, deleting it, edit it, you can copy the URL. And so at the moment you can see we're in the client page, you logged into Rehab Guru. Link to this post-appointment questionnaire has been copied to the clipboard within my device. Open a new browser window and then paste it. So I have a Mac, so I'm doing Command V, but if you had a Windows, you do Control V. And so now you're into this portal, which is different from the web app itself. And so you can see this, and obviously this has been sent, but it hasn't been completed by the patient, which is why you're seeing it blank. So if, for example, is a really good question. If you had someone who was complaining of cauda equina, or if you had someone that was complaining of another issue, rather than simply trying to call them and get on the phone to the GP practice and running around and not being able to do that, if you can just copy and paste that and put it into an email, or if you were to do that perhaps to trauma orthopedics, if you've got someone that's come in and you think they've got an undiagnosed fracture or something nasty and you need to call up trauma orthopedics, get on the phone to T&O and say, can I send you this document? And you can send it with the body chart and the questions that they've answered. And that can be a really useful way for getting good secondary care. Is that, I imagine that's what the question was related to, but I don't know if there's any other way that I can explain it.
In terms of being able to edit the notes, I imagine there needs to be internet connection to access everything online.
Yeah, that's right.
And are there certain platforms that you can't use this on? So is it just on Google Chrome that it can only be used on, or can it be used on Safari and across different devices?
Yeah, it can. The one which most modern web apps wouldn't advise you to use are browsers such as Internet Explorer, because it's slightly more outdated and it doesn't do very well with modern web apps. But yeah, otherwise, Firefox, Safari, Google Chrome. We use Google Chrome for most of our stuff in clinic and everywhere else that I've worked. But if you've got other ones, then yes, you will be able to use Guru on other platforms.
Awesome. And there are a couple of questions in the Q&A. I'm not sure if you can see those.
Let's have a look. An online diary would be brilliant. I currently use Power Diary. Do we integrate? No, we don't at the moment, not with Power Diary, but we will be bringing out our own diary really soon. It's something that's being developed at the moment, and I've seen some of that in its build phases, and it's really exciting. And that's going to allow not only diaries and calendars, it will also allow online bookings and online payments, various other things. So if you're currently using and quite probably paying a lot of money, which at the moment with COVID-19, we're spending so much time cleaning in between appointments, and we need so much time between one patient leaving and the next one coming. It's really interfering with how many people are coming in each day. And without sounding too trashy sort of money does make the world go round, and we do need to put food on the table. And so if we can cut down on some of our expenses, it can be really helpful. So hopefully we'll be doing that to help you when we release all of that other new stuff. The other questions, right? Can you send a certain code to a client to access the prescription of exercises for the Guru client app? Also, can they access this on computer as well with the same code? So yes is the answer. Let's see what we can do. So I'm just going to close down the Q&A. When a patient is sent an email, and whilst I'm talking to you, I'm just going to set one of these up so that you can see exactly what it will look like. The patient will receive an email, and in its current format, patients will receive an email and the program will be white labeled, but it's white labeled with the BASRaT logo because BASRaT are paying for that. And so the cost of white labeling several hundred accounts, that cost is too much for us to take. And so all exercise programs have your great BASRaT logo. And in addition to that, there will be an option to either click on the link that just allows them to open their exercise program in a browser, and they can do that whether they're on a desktop, be that laptop or computer, or if they're on a tablet or a smartphone. And in addition to that, there will also be a program ID. It's a 10-digit ID, and that will be a code that can be copy and pasted, and they would paste that into the client app. So when patients download the client app, of which just to clarify it for you, the mobile Rehab Guru client app is a mobile app. So we don't have that on the web app. And the reason that we don't is most people have the wearable technology within their phone. A lot of people are now getting wearable devices, be that watches and whatnot, or Fitbits or whatever it happens to be. And that would all be pulled into the client information. So what we can display is, for example, the patient's step count. And so you might have someone who's a really high level and you've told them they've got to stop, walking 15,000 steps a day because it's affecting their plantar fascia pain. Or you might have someone that you actually want to increase their activity level. And so being able to track that is really important. And this is best done from a mobile device. So that is why the Rehab Guru client app is a mobile app and not a web app. What it will look like for the patient, I've just sent myself a program whilst I've been talking to you. And so what I'm going to do now is just share the screen with you. The reason I did that is I didn't necessarily want to share my email screen with you and all of the emails, but I'm just going to share the specific email window with you as to what it would look like. So this is just a demo one, so it's not got any of your nice designs on it. This is the prescription copy. Sorry, bear with me. Your training program. Here we go. So I'm going to share this window with you now, and hopefully you'll be able to see now. It says your training program at the top here, and addressed to the patient. This is the code which the client, your patient, can copy and paste into the Rehab Guru client app. And indeed, there are information to how to view your program. You can view it on the web by clicking here, and if they were to click on that, it would come up with the program, and I can show you that. And obviously, as it says here, to answering one of the other questions, you can use Firefox, Edge, Chrome, Safari, etc., etc. If you wanted to copy and paste that into a browser window, then you can do, or view it on the mobile app. And so there are links to Rehab Guru client And this just makes it very easy for them, again, to copy and paste it. So that is how it would work for a patient. I don't know whether it would be useful for me at all to open this and then share it with you. So what I will do is stop sharing that and just start sharing this particular window. And so this is what the patient will see if they've clicked on that email link. This obviously, in your case, will be branded with BASRaT and the BASRaT colors rather than Rehab Guru. And the patient will be able to either download to a PDF. So there was a question about downloading. So if the patient wants to download as a PDF, that will be generated for them. Alternatively, if they want to actually view the videos, then they can move from the images to the video and they can watch the exercises and they can scroll through those. On the client app, I'll stop sharing now, see if there's any other questions. So on the mobile app, the Rehab Guru client app for patients, there is information there where they can enter their pain scores, they can enter how many reps and how many sets they've done, how well they feel, and all of that data is available for the patients to see, so the patient can track their pain scores improving, they can track their daily step count improving, they can track their compliance growing because maybe they can only tolerate one set of the exercise and then they can do more and more, but that information will also all be sent to you. I can give you a quick view as to what exactly that would look like. Conscious of time, if you need me to stop or if you want to interrupt me, Ryan, then please do.
Carry on, it's great.
So we orientated you to the app earlier on. And so obviously creator is where you would create the program. Clients is where we would start looking and drilling down into this data that we were talking about. Now, if we were to look at this one, for example, these are some exercise programs, and as you can see from the email, this was just sent to me, so this is just sort of demo examples that I've created for the purpose of webinars like this. There are 6 options available with each exercise. This program's been sent, you can send it again, you can look at the list of exercises, or if you want to, you can load this into the app. So I'm loading this into, you could call it a basket, like a shopping basket, or you could load it into, we call it a working collection, but essentially it's a basket, if that helps you to understand. Or we can look at the graph. And so as we click on the graph, we can see that the patient, who in this case was me, just doing a demo, entered my pain scores, my wellness scores, and my compliance into the app. And these bars each represent an exercise session. If we want more information than what is displayed in this overview, then we just click on each of the bars, which obviously represents an exercise session, and we then start getting more information. So within that program, we have pain scores and wellness scores related to each of the exercises. As we go down, we can then look not only at compliance, so how many reps and sets they did, but also any feedback. So this is written feedback that the patient is given. And that might be relevant because if we see this feedback and we go up and notice that their pain scores are really high, then we might need to modify this. So this is really useful information that we get concurrently. As soon as the patient has completed that program, it is loaded into the client page for you to view. It doesn't necessarily send you an alert because I'm aware of just how difficult it can be when you've got a full clinic. If you're getting emails, if you're getting alerts, if you're getting people saying, oh, can you send me a new program? Well, I haven't got the time because I've got a full clinic, but also it's a good way of generating reviews. So that if you wanted to, you could look through patients. If you think, oh, I've not seen a particular patient in 3 weeks, I thought they would have booked in by now, go into their client page, look at the programs you sent them, they may have just got bored because they've done all the exercises. It was too easy for them. Get on the phone, send them an email, ask them if they want to come into clinic again and have their program progressed. That's really useful information because we do get dropout. We all know that we get dropout in clinic. Someone just gets better and they don't come back. Someone, gets a new job and they go off. Sometimes people think, oh, I don't really like this having to do exercise. I'm gonna go to someone that doesn't make me do exercise, or whatever the reason is. And actually, if we can reduce that dropout rate by monitoring the exercise programs we're giving, it can really help people a lot more. And I'm finding that is really relevant at the moment because in my clinic, we are doing telephone and telehealth calls. And as some of you will know, there is free telehealth on Rehab Guru on your account. So as well as having the exercise prescription platform and the notes and the forms, you've also got telehealth. And I can give you a quick demo of that if you want. It's sometimes difficult to make the exercise program as accurate for the patient as you sometimes like. You can't be there to test do manual muscle testing, for example. It isn't possible to get them on the squat rack machine always. And so it may be that if you send out an exercise program for your first appointment with them, if that actually needs tweaking, if it's not quite as accurate as you'd like it to be, well, you can see that through the client feedback. So I always encourage my patients to use the Rehab Guru client app because it gives me so much information, and particularly at the moment where face-to-face isn't always guaranteed, we can make the programs very quickly really accurate. Would it be helpful to show you the telehealth quickly?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So because I've got a microphone and a video already going, I'll probably get a nasty echo and it might sort of start doubling up the screens again. So I won't necessarily start a call. But we're already in this one here, and we can see telehealth is an option. So if we click on telehealth, because this is a demo, I've not actually used any yet, but I can schedule a meeting. And this allows me to choose what type. We do have Telehealth Pro, and the benefits of Telehealth Pro is that instead of the page being branded with Rehab Guru, your telehealth platform is branded with your clinic. The way that we charge for that is it's basically pay as you go, and it's very, very cheap. And there are some additional features, much like you might find on Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is a great piece of software because it's got loads of features, but you obviously have to pay for that and for everything that goes with it. But in this case, I'm going to use Telehealth Lite, which just to reassure you, it's end-to-end encrypted, both at transit and at rest. And we obviously do meet all of the requirements with regards to Cyber Essentials Plus, which is regulated by a government organisation, as well as aligning with ISO 27001 and exceeding all the controls on NHS data security and the toolkit. So if anyone's sort of thinking in their mind, oh, I'm not sure about using telehealth, it is incredibly secure. I use it whenever I can with my patients. And so if we click Telehealth Lite, we can then choose a day and a time that's relevant for us. So if I did it for, let's say 7:30, I'm going to book that meeting. That meeting is now available for me to start, and I can click on that. If you were to book on a date in the future, let's take November. I'm going to book one in at 7 o'clock on the 9th of November. What you'll notice, I'm just going to move the zoom across, is that I now can't start that session because it's not the 9th of November at 7 a.m. So in terms of locking in your telehealth appointments and not having other people jumping in, or not having patients being able to jump into that telehealth appointment before their time is due, the start session icon will appear at the point of the appointment. You can send reminders, you can send the details, which will send it immediately to the patient, to their email address. You don't have to worry about copying and pasting any codes or anything like that, just so that you're aware when we start a session. I'll close it very quickly because you'll get an echo otherwise. When we look at, where am I? Here we are. So for the patient, what that looks like is that they'll get an email, and the email will have a link that they can just click on, and it can open as a browser, and it can, by that browser, I mean Edge, Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, all of those other ones. It's also possible for them to copy and paste the code, because there was a question before about copying and pasting an exercise program code into the client app. You can also do that for telehealth. And so if the patient wanted to have their telehealth appointment with their mobile device, that can be really useful if, for example, they want to tilt their phone down to their ankle and show you how swollen their ankle is, for example, or the back of their neck, or wherever it happens to be. And so for the patient, they can engage with either a browser on the web app. If the patient is going to open a telehealth appointment on RehabGuru through their mobile device, it really should go through the RehabGuru client app. It's optimized for that, and so you'll get a performance that you just can't get through a browser on your phone. I hope that makes sense. There's another question that's come in. Okay, Jack, super. Anything else in the chat here? There was no line. Do we get this with BASRaT membership again next year? So one thing that we're looking at, I love working with BASRaT. I, as you know, I'm a physiotherapist, and my business partner is a sports rehab instructor. The CSP, the Chartered Society of Physiotherapy, has not provided me or any physiotherapist with any service like this during lockdown. BASRaT really have pulled it out of the bag for you. There are more things that we're going to be doing. So we're already offer RehabGuru free to universities. If there's anyone who is embarking on a master's project and you want to use RehabGuru for your dissertation, be that for simply data collection, or be that for standardizing the exercise delivery, then we will support that as best as we can. And I don't know if, Ryan, you're able to elaborate any more on the universities, but we offer it to physiotherapy universities and some sports rehab universities as well. Next year, I don't know what the climate and the industry is going to be doing. I don't know what the economy is going to be doing. So I guess that's something that we will come to over the next 6 months. Will we have an update regarding the subscription soon? Subscription, I'm not sure whether...
No, I think that's for me responding.
Okay.
The discussions going forward next year. Hopefully we'll have something in place.
Yeah. But regardless of that, we will continue providing for universities as best we can, whether that's for a dissertation or just for you to be using on placement, using with each other, practicing. It's really, really helpful. Is there anything else?
I think you covered everything superbly there, David. Thank you very much for that in-depth talk. Guys, if there are any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to contact myself at administration@basrat.org. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or try and answer them best I can, or pass them on to David, who I'm sure will be more than happy to help as well.
Yeah, and you've seen my email. If anyone wants to email us, and ask for help, you can contact team@rehabguru.com, and there's various people that access those emails. I am one of them. There is on the website, if you go on www.rehabguru.com, you'll see there is also instant messaging there. If anyone wants to register, as I showed you before, you just register and then contact BASRaT so that you get upgraded to RehabGuru Pro, because the free version has got tons of great stuff on it, but it doesn't have all of the subscription features we showed you today.
I think the main thing from all this is to get using it, to get the most out of it. That's the only way you're going to get used to it and used to all the new features, and just keep using it with your patients.
Yeah, we've got a really good support videos, so video tutorials. If you go on support.rehabguru.com, it's separated into the client app for patients, mobile app, web app. There's video tutorials that talk you through all the different features on RehabGuru. And if you want to take a second bite at the webinar that I did with Ollie earlier in the year, if you go on YouTube and just look up BASRaT RehabGuru webinar, you'll see that earlier webinar, which goes through a lot of the app in detail.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, David. Thank you everyone for attending, and have a good evening.
Take care. Have a great one.
Take care. Bye-bye.